What's up, guys? This is part 2 of the role non-black of the video series I've been doing, which is the role that non-black people have in the Black Lives Matter movement. If you need a synopsis of what this series is, literally just go watch my first video and it will get you up to speed. Since it's a long video, let's just get started. The fourth question I have is, when did you start to be aware of the treatment of black people in our society? It could be a personal experience or something you've seen on the news or social media. So, this is similar to the first question that I asked, because, like I said, if I asked a black person, the answers would be entirely different. If you're not black, you're definitely going to look at racism and figure out that black people are treated differently in our society, at a different speed, through a different situation. Most oftentimes, it's not going to be a personal experience. The answers that I got, pretty much similar to the first question I asked, was, most people on a surface level knew that black people were treated differently within our society. But how they got to that conclusion was really different. The first person I asked, she basically said that she saw how a darker skinned person could be treated differently with how her parents were treated. Her mom is a lighter skinned Latino woman. Her dad is a brown skinned, darker skinned Caribbean person. So seeing how they were treated in public from both sides, like, her dad being labeled as a sellout or a coon or anything of that nature for marrying somebody or having sex with somebody who's lighter skinned, and then on the other hand, her mom was experiencing racism, being called pretty much a nigger lover for dating darker skinned, or being married to a darker skinned man. And this one, honestly, the topic of interracial couples is a video in of itself. But to be honest, when I think about it, and the response that I gave to her is that, interracial couples will definitely have a very unique sense when it comes to covert and overt racism. Like, on one hand, we love seeing mixed race children. We love seeing love, and we love seeing people together. We love seeing love, and we love seeing mixed race children, and we, for the most part, like seeing mixed race couples. However, we also condemn it on both sides. We condemn it. We say that, it's disgusting, it's wrong, it's this, that, and third, or you should be marrying somebody within your race, and you should be dating somebody within your race, having sex with somebody within your race, giving children to somebody within your race, or bearing children to somebody in your race, and you're a sellout if you don't. Which can oftentimes lead to women, either on both sides. You see it oftentimes leads to people feeling like they are not even comfortable within their own social group because they're dating somebody or marrying somebody that doesn't look like people within their space. And you're not really getting accepted from both sides. So interracial relationships are relationships that get, we love seeing it, but then we hate seeing it in our own spaces, many people don't even want to show their parents their girlfriend or their boyfriend because, they're not black, or they're not white, or they're not Asian, or they're not whatever, you feel me? So, that's kind of like my stance on it. Another one, the second person I asked this question to, he answered, seeing it when he was going to parties with his friends, and he has I don't know how much black friends he has, but he's growing up around a lot of black people, and he has quite a bit of black friends. They would go to parties, and they would give him the weed, they'd give him the vodka, because they knew if he got caught with it by a neighbor or by a police officer, he may get a slap on the wrist. He may just simply be let off. Maybe get confiscated, but he would be let off, or maybe just get put in a holding cell until his parents come get him. Essentially something like that. On the contrary, his black friends were legitimately scared of an encounter with law enforcement. They were scared of an encounter with a neighbor because all it takes is one 911 call. And then they're afraid that they're going to get a police record and that's going to be held to onto them for the rest of their lives, regardless of circumstance, regardless of context, because many people hold stereotypical views and then project it on a wide cast, and they project it on practically all black people based off one news story they saw on Facebook or one story they have in their community, and then they cast it to a wide range of black people. So, seeing something like vodka and weed, or something like loud music or something like that, that's just teenager shit. That's just regular high school shit. Vodka, weed, that's a high school party. But for black people, you're projecting a negative stereotype, regardless, you just being a kid, essentially. You're just being a teenager. You're being a kid living your life, and then you're in the mindset of somebody who already had these views about your people, and it makes black people feel like they have to grow up faster, because these are things that can literally destroy a person's life. This can really mess up a person's mental, especially when it comes to law enforcement. But now I want to get into my friend Lauren's response, because her response was really long. So if you want to read it, then by all means. But to sum it up, she said that going to university and learning about these topics helped her. On top of the fact that she was an avid hip hop fan, an avid rap fan, and listening to music that gave her a different perspective on the realities of being a young black man in America. So let me start with the school topic. She said that she was able to going to university, taking classes, already helped her learn more about stuff that she felt like she already knew. So with schooling, one of the things that we failed to do, and I know it's not it's not a main focus in America, and it really isn't a big focus in Canada, where we don't really learn about black history. We learn about slavery, we learn about how they get here, but we don't learn about the laws and the legislations and the bills that were used to actively punish black people. We don't learn about the real extent of the KKK. We don't learn about Black Wall Street. We don't learn about Rosewood. You don't really learn about the riots. We don't really learn about the advancements that black people have made in our society, and the inventions that black people have made, and the advancements that black people have had in modern day society. We don't learn about this stuff. And sometimes you may get a teacher that goes a little off the book. He or she shows you some shit. Shout out to Mr. Dobbs, my grade 10 history teacher. But that's not the case. That's not the case for everyone. And especially in Canada, that's the case, because similar with black culture and indigenous culture, we don't learn that stuff. And, it took my grade 11 religion teacher, shout out to Miss Malia, to really show us some stuff like that. And you don't even really learn about your true history. And then we always say that, young people are the people to drive us out of racism. They're supposed to be the people that uplift us out of the systemic racist views that we hold, because they're going to be the people that can change the tide, especially in a more diverse culture that we live in now compared to the 60s. However, we don't even teach them what they need to know in order to combat it, in order to learn about it. We don't teach them about this stuff. So now, there's people that go around with tone-deaf responses that are ignorant to their history, to very important piece of history, that don't have all the facts. They don't have all the knowledge. They have to go find it on their own. And now I'm happy that she found a university, but this is something that should be universal, because it's so important to North American culture. Now that's the schooling part, and now I want to get into what she said about hip hop and rap. And I think hip hop artists and rap artists have an incredible voice in a movement like Black Lives Matter, because not too long ago, they were the people living in those communities that are disenfranchised. They're the people living in those communities that were poorly funded, overly policed, don't have proper access to education or healthcare. They don't have proper access to many things. And, and with their talent and their skill, they're able to pretty much move out of there, move their family out of there, and start creating the generational wealth that can last a lifetime. And they have that voice because they literally a lot of them have lived in those shoes before, of feeling like there's no way out. Culture, communities that are heavily dealt with, like gang violence, heavily dealt with over policing or lack of funds, and you see this stuff, and then so they have an incredible big voice. They have a truly, and they're not the people who start the wheel. Usually, entertainers or anything like that, they're not the people who start the wheel, but they bring eyes on the wheel. They push the wheel in a faster direction because they have an outstanding reach. Hip hop and rap are the biggest, consumed genres of music right now. Like, they're the biggest, they're the most consumed genre of music. Their culture is acted upon all the time. That's why you see a lot of these brands wanting to work with hip hop artists, wanting to work with rap artists, because they look at them as cool. They look at them as the new norm, you could say. And you see this, and also with hip hop, with rap, it's hard hitting. It's to the point. It conveys the message in a way that you can digest, and you damn sure know what they're fucking talking about. That's why Lil Baby's The Bigger Picture is a really important song. That's why other historical songs like NWA's Fuck the Police or 911 is a Joke in Your Town. Let me make sure I get that right. I don't want to, fuck that up. I don't want to fuck that up. Public Enemy, 911 is a Joke in Your Town, Public Enemy, or NWA, or Tupac. And then you have artists, nowadays like Cole, Kendrick, G Herbo, Polo G, that you can, with hip hop, with rap, they use it to convey the message of what they grew up through, what they experienced. And it's a message that can be easily consumed by somebody who's far away or isn't distant to American culture. The girl that I asked is a Filipino girl from Canada. So, like, how much of American culture is she really going to, American history, that she really going to know? She's now with hip hop, with rap, you're getting a first-hand viewpoint from somebody who not too long ago was living in those conditions. The conditions that we want better right now. That's why hip hop, that's why rap artists, their perspective on this is really important. And their support is really important. These artists can help bridge the gap between what people think of black people and their encounters with the police, or black people growing up in these lower funded communities, and this, that, and third. And with hip hop and rap, it leads the viewer, it leads the listener to look at the picture that they're painting, a vivid picture through their lens. You see the picture they're making through their lens. You see, it feels like you're in their shoes. People sometimes use hip hop to kind of not fully get it, but at least at some level understand where they're coming from when it comes to encounters with police, gang culture, growing up poor, things of that nature. And that's why it's really important. I want to get into the next question though. Question 5. Did family/friends influence your thoughts on black people? Racism is taught behavior. We know this. Racism is behavior that can be brought down from generation to generation, from decade to decade, because, especially if the ideals that you have are not checked, because you're living, the people that are holding these ideals have the same views, they have the same ideology, they have the same thought points. So you don't think it's wrong because everyone you look to and you respect think it's right. So, you don't know if you're racist if everyone around you is racist. And so the answers I got, I'm not going to highlight anyone's point because honestly, everyone's answer was kind of the same. So it was simple as one of my friends, she said that she never really looked at them as equal. And I know this girl, we grew up together. I never looked. What am I saying? The first person I asked, she said that I never looked at them as different because I always looked at them as the same, and nobody could tell me differently. And I know this girl, we grew up together, and she just always looked at them as equal. Equal to me. We grew up together, and I never looked at them as different. I never had and no one could tell me, and I never had a reason to look at them as different. My family was accepting, and my family was never going to make me think otherwise. And my friends were never going to make me think otherwise. And it's important for her to have that sentiment because the girl that I asked, she's a mother now. She has 2 children. And how you can bring down racist ideals, you can pass down also positive ideals to your children so they can continue what you believe. And then two of my other friends, they said the similar things like, I grew up with black people, and when you're young, you're not really looking at skin color, you're just looking at the people around you, and you don't look at them as different. And one of my friends, the third person I asked, he brought up a very good point where I grew up heavily in the church, and I was instilled with Christian views. My parents always wanted me to look at everybody as equal, look at everybody as children of God, and not to think of myself as better or different or superior to them, because we're all in the same bubble, we're all in the same community. And that is similar to my other friend where he said that I grew up, I didn't grow up with much, but the people in my community, and I never really had a reason, I never could look at them as different because I felt we were the same. It was important for me to think this way and have this ideal, and and it's important to have these ideals because especially when you're younger, you don't, like I said, when you're younger, you don't look at race. You don't really think of it as a means to, as something you can use to judge people. You just look at them as their character. You look at them as their personality. Do I like this person? So, that's all I can really say about that. Alright, so let's get into question 6. What is the most shocking, revealing thing you've learned or seen in the last few weeks? So, it's fair to say that everyone during this time has learned something new, regardless of your skin color, regardless of how much you known or you thought you known. All of us are learning something new during this time. For many people on the outside looking in, they're seeing the reality for many black people in our society. So each person's answer is kind of something to dive into. So I'm going to just give a little bit of time to each one. So my first friend, Joceline, she basically said she's so surprised at how broken the policing system and the judicial system in America really is. And when she told me that, and like I said, her response will be on the screen. If you want to read it, you can read it. But and to some degree, and I'm gonna be honest with you, to some degree, I'm surprised too. I'm actually a little more surprised of how much I didn't really know about this guy. I knew about certain things and certain situations and certain stories about the policing system, the judicial system in America, and even to some degree in Canada. But terms like terms like qualified immunity, which if you don't know what that means, it pretty much just means you can't technically sue a police officer for any wrongdoing, and it makes it really fucking hard to do it. How hard police unions go to protect even corrupted and bad officers, and to the point where it's not only protection, because that's technically what a union is supposed to do, but they're also obstructing justice and switching the conversation for if anyone brings up any topic on reforming the police or holding police accountable or anything regard, and they use the tool of, oh well, we're gonna we'll take a break and we'll let the criminals run, we'll let the murderers, we'll let the rapists run loose and all this type of shit. The broken window theory and the tough on crime stance and how far and how layered it really is, and to the point where that's one of the biggest reasons why a lot of these communities are lacking in funds. They don't have enough funding for certain things. They don't, and there's a heavy police presence in these areas for situations regarding, petty crimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the fact that, the tough on crime stance is one of the biggest reasons why these communities are so just, I don't know the right word or the right phrasing to put here, is like, the funding is so slashed in other areas and it's only really put towards policing. And then laws that go as far back as the 80s that, like, military and the military soldiers and police officers can train together. The military can assist the police on drug search warrants, I believe. And then, the military can basically give away their equipment to police for free. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's stuff that I truly did not know about. And when I said earlier about all the riots that were going on in the past and how all of them had a common stance, something I didn't point out is that all the same things that people are suggesting now, people have been suggesting as far back as the 60s or the 70s. But it's the same situation, the same calls, the same cries for justice, the same suggestions, and then the same inaction. So, that's something I've been learning way more too, and I can't lie, YouTube's been helping me in this stance on learning. Another friend said that he's surprised by how big the All Lives Matter group really is, and how ignorant people can truly be, because this is the first time he's really seen it at full force the way it has been. And he's saying that he's even lost friends due to his beliefs in Black Lives Matter, his standing with the Black Lives Matter movement. And to be honest, it's surprising to all of us, man. It's surprising to everybody, because I even had 2 women on my social media accounts block me for my stance when it comes to Black Lives Matter. That's another story for another day. But this past month has been revealing to everybody. It's revealing your friends' true colors, your family members' true colors. What they really think about these situations, what they think about these stances, because now, in the past, many people, especially, white people, can live in the haven of, I'm not racist, but nobody thinks I'm racist, so I don't have to say anything. I don't have to explain myself. But now, being not racist or being colorblind or I don't see color, that's not a good excuse anymore. You have to be anti-racist. You have to be against racism full force. And you have to really walk the walk. You gotta walk it like you talk it. You can't just say, I'm against racism, and then, just stand by and let it happen, and you can do something about it. Even if it's something small, just like checking your family members, I honestly believe that many people don't, they don't want to speak up in terms of family members, and many people don't want to speak up to their family members or friends because they don't want to have awkward conversations with their family members or their friends. But this, they don't want to have awkward conversations. They don't want to burn bridges. But honestly, why would you want anybody on your team? Why would you want anyone in your corner that thinks Black people's lives are disposable? Why do they think that? And the All Lives Matter groups, and the reason people keep saying All Lives Matter, it's deflection. It's just simple deflection. It's a simple red herring argument towards Black Lives Matter. It's trying to minimize it and delegitimize it to a main eye, and making Black people seem like they're the radical ones, where all they're asking for is equality, nigga. They're not even asking, Black people are not trying to take over shit and just trying to kill all white people. That is not what they're trying to do. They want equality. They want better opportunities. They want better representation. They want justice. So like I don't even want to like it's so simple with all lives matter, but people sling it. You know, when people hear say all lives matter, they sling all lives matter. The reason they sling is because for generations, being black in America, being black in our society has not been something that you can totally celebrate. It's not something that you can totally celebrate. And for years, you know, they look at black empowerment movements as a threat because historically, white empowerment movements have been to the detriment of black people. It's been to kill black people. It's been to threaten black people. So that's what that's what they see. And you know, it's I don't even like really explaining all lives matter to people because you know y'all had years and years to understand it. If you don't want to understand it at this point, then you're just being 100% ignorant. It's just 100% ignorance. So that was my friend Dom's comments, but I want to get into my friend Emily's comments, and I'll put them on screen. But a Spark Notes version of what she said was, and you can pause the screen if you want to read it. Just like with all of these, you can just pause the screen if you want to read it. But her response kind of boils down to learning about the slave patrol and how almost identical it is to our modern day policing, how it's inspired the modern day policing. How what the term abolishing or defunding the police, her stance on how the performativeness of non-black people of color and the term murder porn or like black trauma porn or how people like really need to see the video, and she was getting sick of seeing the video circulating around social media. And yeah, I think that boils down. Let me just make sure I'm not mistaking anything else she said. Yeah, I think I got the gist of it. Yeah, I think I got the gist of it. Because she's been somebody who has cared about this movement, has cared about Black Lives for a while now. So, if I can get into all of them, the slave patrol is something that I like I said, in terms of things that everyone's learning about, that's something I learned. I remember, that's something I just recently learned about. I remember a couple months ago, I was watching a video, there was a video that popped up in my timeline on YouTube, like it was popped up in my YouTube feed, excuse me, and personally, it was a woman. I think the YouTube channel was called The Roots, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a video titled how Slave Patrol inspired the modern day policing. And when I clicked on the video, I didn't watch it at the time. I watched like maybe a minute of it, but it had crazy dislikes. It was like 700 dislikes to like 4,000. 700 likes to 4,000 dislikes or some shit like that. And to me, and it popped up again a few weeks later, and I watched it, and to me, like, the surprising thing of how much of the tactics that were used back in the day to scare the everlasting shit out of black people are still used to this very day. That's something I just recently learned about. And it wasn't even that long ago historically that police officers could be active KKK members. That's something that just fucking surprised me. Like the slave patrol something that surprised me, and I didn't even know that term. Think about that. I never even learned that term in my entire life up to this point. How the KKK, scared black people out of voting because they were so embedded with, companies, and they could tell if a black person went out and vote, they can, go snitch to wherever they worked for, and they could get fired for it. And this is all historical context. It's not that long ago. I'm gonna watch the video again to make sure I'm not, mistaking any terms. But yeah, that's what I watched, and I saw that video. It was revealing, but it was it was informative. It made me more educated on our modern day policing, which leads into the question of defunding or abolishing the police. And obviously, there's been a lot of hyperboles being thrown out there. Obviously there's been a whole bunch of hyperboles being thrown out there. Obviously, abolishing the police does not mean no police and we just succumb to the purge. Obviously, but abolishing the police at a bare bones level just means we ask the question again of we ask ourselves the question: what is considered criminal, And what is the role of police in the modern day society, and how the fuck did we get to the point where police officers are looking like mini day soldiers? And you know, a while just during the like maybe 2 months ago, in the middle of a pandemic, like I don't know about other countries, but in Toronto, like during a pandemic, we were running low on hand sanitizer, masks, gloves, toilet paper, etc. But cops can LARP around on like Master Chief type beat, fucking Call of Duty Warzone type beat, and it was okay to everybody. Like I remember I was watching a video from Vox, and they put up 4 pictures of like military officers, U.S. soldiers, police officers, and another, I forgot the fourth column, but I couldn't even tell which one was the officers. I couldn't tell. And seeing just how equipped the officers were, like there's peaceful protesters and they're dressed like they're getting ready for war. So, it had me thinking about, you know, abolishing the police and defunding the police, and not defund, that means they don't get enough money for things that they genuinely need. Like personally, I think, you know, police officers should have, you know, access to assault rifles and things of that nature. However, and body armor and things of that nature. However, like we've gone way too far. Like for example, in Toronto, we spend $1 billion on our police force, like 1.2 billion, I believe, while other communities haven't had their gyms renovated in years. They haven't had their community centers renovated in years. The schools are not funded enough. You know, so it's not even, hospitals are not really funded enough. But we have so much money tied into policing. So it's about I can't even say the word, but like redistributing all the money that they make and putting it to other sectors, so police officers can literally just focus on what they're trained to do and not focus what they're not trained to do. But honestly, I actually have another video in the works about the whole term defunding the police, because it's one of the things that really pissed me off on social media, because it's just so many people using it wrong and not knowing what it exactly means. But I'm not going to talk about it now. But I'm going to make a video in the future about it. Probably next few weeks, hopefully, if everything goes my way. She talked about black trauma porn and how the video is getting circulated around, people needing to see a video, like, you know, saying like how she personally doesn't feel like how people could not have known about this, how known that these things happen to black people on the regular, and like, did you really need to see the video? And honestly, I've heard that term getting thrown around a lot, and I understand it. Like I understand, like honestly, I only watched that video once. I said it in a couple of videos ago, I only watched that video one time, and I didn't want to see it again. I really did not want to see it again, because it was sickening. It made me visibly angry, because the community, the people that are seeing this and knowing this is wrong, had no power, because if they stepped in, they're getting arrested or they're next, essentially. And I was, oh fuck, but it got me thinking, like, in terms of that, like how, you know, us as civilians could step in when we see a police officer power tripping, they can't see past their own ego or past their own mindset, and how we can step in legally and not fear repercussions. And you know, that's something I've been thinking about. And but anyways, back to what she was saying. I get it. You know, I get it. Like I even said, like, there's no way in hell that you just now figure out that black people have been, you know, dying at the hands of the police. You know, just only a few months ago, this has been happening. There's been many high-profile cases over the last 10 years. Shit, over the last 5 years. However, I think, and I said that to her, and I said it to her when I replied to her, it's that many people, you know, many people, including white people, they love the police. And their relationship with the police is entirely different. Because the reality is, to see, like, what happened to George Floyd, for that to happen to another white person, they would have to do some fucked up shit. They would have to do some absolutely crazy shit to get the same experience George Floyd got. So when people when they see like a police officer had his knee on this black man's neck, for damn near 9 minutes, and for the last like 2-3 minutes he was unresponsive. It's like that's a modern day lynching. That's something that we feel so not. It seems so unforeign. That seems so foreign to white people. It seems so foreign to. Yeah, I feel like this is mostly white people. I feel like white people are the ones that are eager to, in my opinion, are eager to see that video, because it's like they literally cannot believe something like this happened to a civilian. You know, white people's experiences with police officers are so different to the point where that's why one of their main responses is what did he do? Because they know that if they would, like I said before, like they did something fucked up, they would get the experience that George Floyd got, and George Floyd basically did nothing. You know, so that's why many people's first response. But like, I also understand it on the other end. Like, you know, you could have just not have just found out for the first time. You also, you know, you don't really have to see the video, and it's just, it kind of goes back to a mechanism, just not believing black people when they're talking about their struggles or their situations at the hands of the police, or just in society, just not believing black people, especially black women. But like, and I think that is another thing that people need to just kind of understand, that you have to start believing black people when they're telling their stories, they're telling their trauma, they're telling their experiences, and being upset without having the need to see it on camera in order to believe it. You know, like, will there be people that lie and, you know, game the system? They will be. You know, that's kind of like in everything. But if the minority if the minority of that is influencing the majority, then you also have to ask those same questions about the police that are heavily regulated and heavily funded. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're trained. And they're tax paid also. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? So, I get it. I totally understand. Like, leave that in the comments section. I'm going to DM this video to a lot of my friends. Like tell me about that. I actually want to get more opinions on that. And the final thing, the performativeness of black people. Now, performativeness of non-black people of color. I'm not going to lie. I had to ask her what she meant by that. And when she, you know, answered, she kind of was explaining how, like, you know, they'll get on social media and they'll, you know, retweet a bunch of petitions or donate or even donate, or, you know, send links to donate. They'll talk about how much they hate this shit and they hate this shit on social media, but they see it happening in day to day. They see it with their family members. They see it with their friend group, their social circles, and they don't check it. They just stand by. Like, I think it's called incidental racism. So you just, you know, you don't use your voice. You don't amplify your voice, but you amplify it on social media. But you really go. It's kind of like how a Drake lyric just popped in my head. Like, you know, you really go with the captions, but you don't do enough on action. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, a lot of y'all spend too much time on captions, not enough time with action. And you know what? Like, personally, I can't really get angry when somebody sees something so blatantly offensive happen in real time because they didn't know how to respond to it. You know, like, that happens a lot. But, you know, it happens a lot, not just in terms of, like, in, like, racist remarks, but, like, it could be sexist remarks or homophobic remarks or things of that nature. And like I said earlier, people don't want to be put in awkward situations, but, you know, but for non-black people of color, and it's not for everyone, because everyone has, not all non-black people of color, because they have their own, you know, every minority group has their own struggles that they go through. But when you see this type of racism being handed out, you have to do something, because you know it's real. You know, like, and for many years, black people have gotten the harshest repercussions when it comes to racism. And you have to amplify your voice. You have to know, you understand that it's real. You have to amplify it in action. You know, you have to be a voice when black people feel like they're in a corner and they can't do anything. You know, like and just like with non-black people of color, like if somebody was making fun of Asian people, you would want your black friends to stick up for you if they're there. If you're a Latino person, you'd want the same thing. If you're Indian, you want the same thing. So you can't want it when black people are helping you, but you don't help them out when they need you the most.